Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news, and we have a blockbuster show tonight, jam-packed. Bryan Mbuemo has officially been announced as a Manchester United player, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to go through some of the statement that he's released from Manchester United as well. Really good news. Second signing of the window is in, guys, so we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the striker search from Manchester United. David Ornstein has been dropping hints all day in relation to where Manchester United are going, what they're doing, what they're not doing, and of course the striker situation is a big talking point for United. Fabrizio Romano gives us an update on that as well. We've got an update on the search for a new goalkeeper as well. It looks like Manchester United are up in the hunt for a new goalkeeper, I suppose, is the best way of saying it. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Ornstein, outgoings, Highland, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Marcus Rashford to Barcelona. Is there a little bit of a hiccup on the cards and Barcelona actually registering him? We know there was an issue with Nico Williams, and is it rearing its ugly head again? So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We've also got an update on Jadon Sancho, guys. Again, David Ornstein has been talking about his potential move to Juventus and whether he believes it's actually true or not. A big show. Big show to get into. Plenty to discuss. Great to see so many people in. Jump in and say hello in the chat. Please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. As always, guys, do let me know your thoughts in the comment section as well. Who have we got in already there? Ben is in. Good to see you, pal. And he makes it on tour. There you go. Absolutely. Bryan Mbuemo. We said it, didn't we? He's going to be on tour. He's going to be flying out to the US with Manchester United and with the squad, which is absolutely fantastic news. Passat is in as well. Good to see you. Are happy we're able to sign players. There we go. Happy days. Lovely stuff. Take a second. Smash a like in the video. We're going to jump right into it, guys. And there is only one place to start. And it's with Bryan Mbuemo. Let's jump in and see what we've got here. Who else have we got? Tom Aldino. Adam is in. Good to see you, pal. And Mbuemo and Cunha. We're going to cook next season. Oh, let's not get too carried away yet. Pal. I need to get on to you as well about the start of the season as well and getting back into our lives. Let's see. David is in as well. Great signing. Really happy with the business. Absolutely. Happy days. Right, let's jump in and let's talk about this guy. Bryan Mbuemo signs for Manchester United. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Now, look, we know over the last few days that it is, and it was always going to happen. We got the here we go. When was it? Was it Friday? I think it was Friday. Whenever it was. Friday, anyway. But the key thing here was getting him away with the squad on the US tour. That was the key, wasn't it? And it was the kind of the time frame that everybody was talking about, and Manchester United fans specifically. He really only missed a week of pre-season because he only started last Monday with Brentford, and now he's a Manchester United player less than a week later. So absolutely fantastic news. Manchester United have confirmed it. The wait is over. Brilliant, fantastic news. And he has been speaking. Obviously, it's the usual kind of snippets that we get. He says, as soon as I knew there was a chance to join Manchester United, I had to take the opportunity to sign for the club of my dreams. This is the team whose shirt I wore growing up. And look, we spoke, didn't we, when Cunha signed? And we talk a little bit about the mentality within the Manchester United squad and, the reasons behind people playing for Manchester United. Is it the paycheck? Is it is it seen as maybe a bit of a retirement home for older players to get one last big deal? Well, if this window and this transfer window is anything to go by with the 3 players that have signed from the 1st of July, it's completely flipped on its head. We now are signing players who want to play for Manchester United. Now, look, I do think Ineos focused heavily on that last summer as well. Ugarte, De Ligt, Yoro, Xerxes, and Matraoui. Very good signings for Manchester United. You would say the bulk of them players have been our best players last season and up there with the better performers, even though it was an absolutely horrendous season. But when you hear the likes of Cunha, you hear the likes of Diego Leon, and now you're hearing the likes of Bryan Mbuemo, and it was so clear from minute one that Bryan Mbuemo, is it Mbuemo, is it Mbuemo? I'm going to call him Mbuemo. I'm going to use the U in his name. it was quite clear from minute one, wasn't it, that he didn't want anybody else other than Manchester United. There was reports that other teams were coming in for him. He made it quite clear that Manchester United was the only destination he wanted to go to this summer. And he was quite comfortable at staying with Brentford if a deal to Manchester United didn't, find its way to happening. But it's great to hear. It really, really is, when we're starting to sign players and you're getting these signings, real quality players in their prime that want to play for Manchester United. And when you can't offer them a title challenge and you can't offer them European football next season, any player that you get, either he is an up-and-coming player who's, maybe looking to make a name for himself, or, especially with the established players like Cunha and Mbuemo, these guys want to play for Manchester United. They want to play for Manchester United. And it's great to hear. It is absolutely great to hear. Now, he will wear the number 19 at Manchester United. I don't really have anything much to say on that. Only happy days. 19. Is there any standout number 19s? Nothing that jumps to mind. And maybe that's why he chose the number himself. But yeah, look, nonetheless, he's got a 9 in it, and that's all that matters. He's a forward player. He's going to be scoring goals for Manchester United. And look, in terms of the transfer window and how it's going so far, look, obviously we spoke last week, didn't we, before we got to Here We Go, and it was 2 players technically, Diego Leon. We signed our first player, Joshua Zirkzee, last summer on the 14th. So only a week later, in this year's transfer window, we've got 3 players in. So I do think business is being done, and it's good to see. And again, we go back on what we said about Mbuemo only wanting Manchester United. I thought that made United quite relaxed in the transfer window, and they didn't have to rush a deal, and they could see how it transpired. As long as they got him in before the American tour and that he was on that plane to go there, that's all that mattered for Manchester United in my eyes. And look, Ruben Amorim has got 2 number 10s, and he's starting to fill up that position, and fill up that forward line. And I've got to reiterate, lads, because I'm still hearing a lot of people online talking about what's the priority and where should United be going next. And a lot of people are saying a goalkeeper, and we do have updates on goalkeepers tonight as well. But it's the forward line. It's getting goals into that team that was the big issue last year. And I seen who was talking about it tonight, or on TalkSport. Neil Warnock was talking about, the fact that Mbuemo was signed, and we were talking about they were talking about United going for a number 9, and he said, "Oh God, I wouldn't do that. I'd be sorting out the back line first. You need another defender, another goalkeeper." And it's the mainstream media just stirring up absolute wibble about Manchester United. Lads who don't know what they're talking about and don't watch Manchester United week in and week out like me and you. While I understand that the backline and the goalkeeper do need to be improved, it is not the key area of concern for Manchester United at the moment. It's getting goals into the team. So in my eyes specifically, and I think the majority of people who are getting involved in the chat night after night on this channel tend to agree that it does have to be a striker. It really, really does. And if we could, in another week or two, maybe cut out Ruben Amorim's head there or his whole body and just put in an Ollie Watkins or a Benjamin Sesko or even a Victor Gyökeres, which we'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes, it would be absolutely fantastic. It really, really would. But nonetheless, guys, Mbuemo to Manchester United is absolutely fantastic news. Keep getting your comments in. I'll get to them now once we go through the last couple of slides here on it. Chris Wheeler in the Daily Mail has said that Chelsea made a late bid for Mbuemo, but he only wanted Manchester United. And again, it just reiterates the fact that United are now signing players, and they're getting players even without European football, even without the genuine possibility of going and challenging for a league title or a Champions League or whatever the case may be. We're signing players that want to play for Manchester United, and that's absolutely fantastic. It really, really is. And finally, guys, Rob Dawson in ESPN says that United are unhappy with how Brentford handled the negotiation repeatedly changing their valuation, which even reached £70 million plus £7 million in add-ons at one point. The feeling is that Brentford wanted Mbuemo to choose Newcastle or Spurs. And again, this may lead to, the delay in getting a deal over the line. And I think ultimately these reports, I don't know if this one would have any validity really, because we know why Manchester United went in with a third bid so quickly after the visa to Newcastle links, and it was because Brentford weren't going to sell both players this summer, and it was only going to be one or the other that left Brentford. So Manchester United had to move, and they had to move quickly. But the fact that you're hearing some of these reports that Brentford, we do know that they upped their valuation at least once, and it did kind of, not that it spooked Manchester United, but they said, no, look, our offer is there, and we're just going to sit on that offer for a while, and we're not going to rush into... If that was Ed Woodward, he would have fucking jumped that 70 plus 7. Oh, yep, take it. Right, grand. And we'll give you another 20 million when he scores 20 goals for us. This is a very composed and a very calculated way of negotiations that we're not used to seeing in the past 10 to 15 years at Manchester United. And it's refreshing, it's got to be said. And I know there are, and even the guys that, a lot of the guys that do the podcast with us, Chris and Oisín and Ben and Desi and the guys, were saying that, they thought it was maybe a little bit of incompetence out of Ineos and so on and so forth. And I always kept cool, to be honest. I thought, well, look, if you look at it objectively, United are not going to rush in to trying to sign Mbuemo. There's too many balls in our side of the court, and I think we held our nerve quite well. And yeah, ultimately, the job was done, and we got it. We got the deal over the line. Let's get through some of your comments here and see what people are saying. Let's have a look here. Who we got? D is in. He says, even all, club needs to release a statement saying Gyökeres isn't on the radar. Stick him and that lot using us to drive the bargain with Arsenal and potentially end that deal for him. Well, look, the one thing I would say on Gyökeres, because obviously that news broke over the weekend while, we haven't been live since. But while I do believe that it may be a way of getting Arsenal to up their price to what they want, I don't necessarily think that Manchester United wouldn't put in a bid for him and test the resolve. I mean, if you can get a player like Victor Gyökeres for 65 million, you've got to be willing to try at least. So I wouldn't be against saying that Manchester United could have potentially been looking at trying to get a deal done. I mean, there's no downside to Manchester United trying to trash out a deal with Sporting, even if you haven't got personal terms agreed with the player yet. Because if United get a deal done with Sporting in terms of a price and a structure and maybe add-ons and whatever the case may be, that's always going to be there. And it gives you the opportunity then to go and speak with the player or his representatives and go, look, Arsenal are not coming up here. Do they really want you? It's hard to know what the motives was behind that report coming out. Ultimately, I don't think Victor Gyökeres is going to sign for United. I would love him. I've been saying Gyökeres to United since maybe as far back as February, that I just felt it was right. Yeah, it was the right fit for United. Obviously, the Ruben Amorim links, but the style of striker, 6'2", whatever about the goals he's scoring, I just thought it would suit what we were trying to do. But yeah, I don't see it. I don't see a downside to United negotiating with Sporting over a potential deal. So yeah, what baby is talking? Neither of them. But yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on Gyökeres. Warren says, hopefully a busy few weeks ahead of opening day, but happy with Mbuemo getting over the line. Absolutely. Tomaldinho says, yes, brother, roll on next season. Absolutely, man. D said, I've got something fucking sticking into me. Anyway. Get your new merch in as well, by the way, guys. Link in the description. You can see it there on the side. The new Eric Cantona design is out. Go get it if you want. Link is in the description. It's pinned in the live chat as well. Go check out some of the designs we've got there. We've got Mateus Cunha, which you can see on the screen there at the moment as well. Now, D says, there's you use it, mouth, what? I don't know, sorry. Warren says, saw he's younger than Mbappe, must have had a rough childhood, but at his age, chance to build a legacy. Absolutely. D says, York, Van der Sar, Rashford, Jemba, but all wore 19. All right, there we go. There's a sticker on the inside of this jumper. That's what's annoying me. All right, there we go. I think we've got the most of it. York wore 19. That was a man. Rashford wore it as well. Jemba played alongside him. Should have known that one. Who do you fancy for striker, says Ben? Well, we're going to jump into it in a moment, Ben. Let me get down through some of the comments here. Ben says striker 100% is what we need to go for next. D says leave Onana in goal as long as we can outscore teams. That's all that matters. Exactly. I mean, you look at the errors leading to goals last season. Onana in the league, what did he have? 5? I think 4 or 5. I think Emi Martinez actually had more. So it for me, it's all about getting that forward line fixed. It really, really is. Ben says the chances we created last season, new front line to take them. Absolutely. And then you look as well about the goals conceded. It wasn't great, but it wasn't atrocious either. I think, what did I say? Was it 3 more goals in the league we conceded last season than Villa? And I think they finished in 8th, was it? Or something like that, 8th or 9th. Warren says, not just a striker who knows how to find the net. I like Rasmus, but we need reliable outlets for a goal. Too often last year and previous seasons, we created so many chances not taken. I agree, 100%. Ben says, Ollie Watkins is just what we need now. I agree. I think Ollie Watkins, now look, again, we'll get into strikers in a moment. I think Ollie Watkins would be a great choice. Thomas says, do you think we'll have to sell some players before we can afford a striker? Yes. I think we will, but again, we get on to Rashford in a moment. His potential wages off of the wage book is about 18 or 19 million, I think, this year. Now, if you look at, say, Mbuemo, for example, the first instalment is 16.25 million, so we don't need to pay again until next year. So you could take that 18 million, potentially 19 million from Rashford, and could you use it as a first instalment for a striker, depending on the negotiations that you undertake with whatever team you're buying the player off of, you know. So I do think the options are there. Arsenal for Life says, congrats, didn't take long. It took less time than it did for you to win the league. What you know? Is it 20 years now since you won the league? 21. It'll be 21 by the time you win it, if you do win it this year. Anyway, I so hope that Bryan Mbuemo is a Man United player now. Well, he certainly is. So there we go. Right, let's move it on, guys. And let's talk about strikers. Okay, a lot of people asking about it in the chat. Now, David Ornstein has been speaking today on the Athletic podcast, and he's been speaking about a lot of different things, but he mentions the strikers at United. Benjamin Sesko and Ollie Watkins are on Manchester United's list of strikers this summer. Now, that doesn't take a genius to figure out, doesn't it not? Two of the best strikers. Two best strikers. Two very good strikers. Two of the top strikers in Europe, potentially. Now, these are the two for me. And I think the majority of Manchester United fans are in the same boat here. It's got to be either Watkins or Sesko. It really, really does, to be quite honest with you. And we'll get on to another name in a moment. But again, I go back to what we've said so many times here, is that we've tried and failed the young up-and-coming striker for the future in Rasmus Højlund. It hasn't worked, lads. It hasn't worked. And it hasn't worked not just with Højlund, but it hasn't worked in the past either. You know, you could talk even going as far back as Anthony Martial. Did it really work? No, I don't think it did. I think the whole Martial situation never lived up to his potential. For God's sake, he had a Ballon d'Or clause in his deal at United. So I don't think we can afford to go for an up-and-coming striker, the likes of Rasmus Højlund again. Now, I mean, we talk about Benjamin Sesko. He is only 22 years of age. So I think Højlund is the same. Is he? Is Højlund the same? He is. This is the reason why I'm leaning towards Ollie Watkins on the striker search. Now, I know there are pros and cons to going for a Sesko or to go for a Watkins. There are pros and cons to both. Absolutely there are. The pros for Sesko is obviously his age, and you would get a lot more time out of him. You would be able to give him a 6-year deal. Absolutely. And he's not even in his prime yet. But you are taking that chance that he would come to the Premier League and not fulfill his potential. Ollie Watkins, on the other hand, has been scoring double figures in the Premier League for, is it 5 years now? I think 4 years at least. He knows where the back of the net is. He knows what the Premier League is like. He knows how to score goals in the Premier League, Ollie Watkins does. Now, the downside to Ollie Watkins, of course, is that he'll be 30. 30 this year, isn't it? It is this year, I think. He's 29 at the moment. So, there are pros and cons. What do you want? Again, you've also got to look at the financial ramifications of the decision you make here. Ollie Watkins would cost us anywhere between probably 50 and 60 million, realistically. Okay? Benjamin Sesko is going to be around 80 to 90 million, and that's euros. So, you've got to weigh up all the options here. And again, you would just hope. And again, I think a lot of the Sesko rumours are being pushed by, and maybe United's main interest in Sesko is coming from Vivell, who worked very closely with him within the Red Bull umbrella over the last few years. So he knows him quite well. He's worked with him quite closely, and he brought him into the Red Bull teams. He was with Salzburg first, and then moved him on to Leipzig. So Vivell knows what he's talking about when it comes to Benjamin Sesko. We did hear reports a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a little bit shorter than that, maybe a week or 10 days ago, that Sesko wasn't overly concerned about no Champions League football next year either, which obviously is great to hear from a Manchester United standpoint, because it means that, again, when we go back and similarly to what we said about Mbuemo and about Cunha, these players are going to sign because they want to play for Manchester United, and not just because they want to play Champions League football or they want a massive, pay raise or whatever the case may be. Majority of people coming to the likes of United or Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea or City are going to get a pay rise anyway. But it's not going to be the astronomical figures that you used to see Manchester United give out. So, look, I mean, for me, it's Ollie Watkins. I just think he's the if you can guarantee Cunha and Mbuemo to get into double figures next year, 15 minimum each, which would be fantastic, and you put Ollie Watkins in on top of that as well, you could be putting a minimum of 50 extra goals into your team next season. And that's absolutely huge. And I'm convinced that would take us up to the European spots. I genuinely, now maybe not top 4, but I think you would be definitely knocking on the door of Europa League qualification next year. And I think if Ruben Amorim can shore up that back line as well, if we're talking about getting a number 6 in, maybe a new goalkeeper, I mean, it's all positives. Now, there is another player that Manchester United have been linked with over the past couple of weeks, and it hasn't been as positive than the likes of Sesko and the likes of Ollie Watkins, and that is Nicholas Jackson. He is really tempting Manchester United, according to Fabrizio Romano, and they could offer Alejandro Garnacho in a swap deal to Chelsea. Internal talks are ongoing to decide what they want to do. Now, again, look, Fabrizio Romano has been speaking today on his YouTube channel, and he says, let's wait for a few days in relation to Manchester United and the striker situation. Everything will become more clear about the striker and in terms of who signs in the next few days. It's all just internal discussions at the moment. So Manchester United are doing their due diligence. I can't believe I got that word out of my mouth so clearly. I can never say that phrase, due diligence. Due diligence, due diligence, due diligence. But it is at the moment internal discussions, according to Fabrizio Romano. And again, Manchester United are not jumping to sign somebody that maybe mightn't be the right option for them. And again, that's not just with the player, the stats, the profile. It's also to do with the finances and which one works better for Manchester United, because we might be able to afford Benjamin Sesko. So I think a lot, a lot of it comes down to the finances as well. Now, I do want to talk about Jackson for a minute, because, look, I do think Manchester United should not be signing Nicholas Jackson. Okay? Now, if we end up doing it, then, I'll support him and I'll get behind him and I'll want him to score goals. I think the reason why United are being linked with Nicholas Jackson and why we're being tempted with him is because of the ceiling that he has. He does have a high ceiling and he has been improving at Chelsea. Is he what United need now is the situation, and is like, if you could get Jackson for a knockdown 30 million, and break it down over 10 installments, I mean, I'd take him. I would take him, and I'd take him as a player that would rotate in and out. But I would still want to go out and get an Ollie Watkins or a Benjamin Sesko as your number one striker. I would like to see, if we went, the ideal scenario here would be is that if we went for and got Ollie Watkins and give him a 3-year deal +1, for example, and you could get Nicholas Jackson for relatively cheap, I don't think that would be bad business, because I do think you could nourish him, you could improve him, and I do think he does have the potential to be a good footballer in the future. And I do think it would probably be worth the gamble of him being that rotational backup option to the likes of an Ollie Watkins. I think where we fall down on the Nicholas Jackson rumours and the Nicholas Jackson links to Manchester United is nobody wants him to come in and be our first choice option now. Again, we've had so much problems in that forward line, going all the way back to, I'm going to go as far back as Van Persie. I really am, because, look, we had the likes of Zlatan, who was fantastic for a season, then got injured. You had the likes of Cavani, who was past his best. You had the likes of Ronaldo, who came in, and tore it up for a season. You had Anthony Martial, who was inconsistent. Rashford, who was inconsistent. I think the last proper striker we had who done, and again, you could even say Van Persie, only done it for 1 year under Ferguson, before Ferguson retired. So we need to get this right. We need to get this right. We really, really do. And I think if we do get it right and we get a striker in that we can guarantee will be there for the next 2 or 3 years, scoring goals on a consistent basis, I think it could only be a benefit to us. We can't afford to go down the unproven route again. We just can't. Now, does Benjamin Sesko fall into that category? I mean, I think there's a strong possibility he does. But again, I would rather get a Sesko than a Nicholas Jackson, to be quite honest with you. But again, look, it's going to be a busy couple of weeks. It really, really is. Let's see what you're saying in the chat here. Let me get a drink of water. Get your comments into the chat, guys. Smash a like on the video as well, guys, if you haven't done so. It helps us out an awful lot. Subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. The subscriber count has been flying up the last week or two, which is great to see. So, yeah, continue to hit that subscribe button if you're new. And jump into the chat and say hello as well. Right, what are we saying? What are we saying in the chat here? Let's see what people are talking. Desi says, I prefer Watkins out and out striker, clinical. I agree, Desi, 100%. D says, I don't know who I'd rather see out of either of them. Sesko, you can see scoring goals in the United jersey. You can. The ideal scenario is you would get an Ollie Watkins at the age of Benjamin Sesko. You know what I mean? But again, beggars can't be choosers either. Watkins is proven. He is the. Ben says, I've only been saying Watkins for how long now, Jack? You have, Ben. In fairness to you, you said it from early doors. I got to give you credit on that one. Warren says, if we get one of the strikers we want, would you take a chance on a freebie like Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Wilson as an experienced backup, or just in case of injury, etc.? I think Rasmus really needs experience, really needs an experienced striker. I would. But I only would if Rasmus Højlund leaves. We're going to talk about Rasmus Højlund in a moment. We'll actually talk about him next because it's in relation to the strikers. But I wouldn't be against getting a Dominic Calvert-Lewin or a Callum Wilson as a backup option at United. No problems with that whatsoever. And I think realistically what you can do is you can sell somebody like Rasmus Højlund and get some money back in the door for him, and then go out and get a free option like a Callum Wilson and a Dominic Calvert-Lewin who could play that rotational role. And you would hope that. Now, you are taking a gamble in some circumstances with players like that, because Dominic Calvert-Lewin can't stay fit. But can he not stay fit because he's playing too much? Or is it a case where he's getting injured in training? These are all questions that need to be answered. But I absolutely 100% think that if Rasmus Højlund goes, we need to get a second striker in. You know, outside of a Sesko or a Watkins. If we get Ollie Watkins and we sell Rasmus Højlund, I think we need to get a second one in. And it's twofold. First and foremost, you can't expect Watkins to do it all on its own. And secondly, I don't think Chido Obi should be pushed too much. I think ideally Chido Obi this year will get 10 to 15 games for the first team. And he could play that third striker when needed. But he needs to be allowed to develop outside of the spotlight, like I've said multiple times. Ben says, I take Ollie if the price was lower. 50 is way too much. Well, see, the thing about it is, Ben, is that when you have a striker who has been guaranteeing goals in the Premier League for the last 4 or 5 years, he's not going to be cheap. But again, I mean, if we're talking about an Ollie Watkins over a 4-year contract and you break a 50-year or £50 million down over 4 years, 12.5 million a year, you know, is that really bad if he's going to be scoring? You know, it depends how the deal is structured, but I totally get where you're coming from. Daryl says, no Calvert-Lewin, he's another Shaw, injury prone. D says, yeah, agreed with Warren. If you're saying 50 million for Watkins, then I think we need to look further afield. But again, guys, and I do agree with you, you don't want to get your pants pulled down on this, but beggars can't be choosers either. Would you, like, is it a case where you wouldn't pay 50 million for Watkins, but you pay 90 for Benjamin Sesko? I don't think, I would rather pay 50 for Watkins than 90 for Sesko. I think it's too big of a risk. You're bringing a 20-year-old in for 80 or 90 million. Whoa. You know, and we've seen that already this season with Rasmus Højlund, haven't we? You know, and I'm not saying that it's the price tag that's meaning Højlund didn't do well. I think he's just not good enough ultimately. But you do know, and we have seen in the past, them big price tags on young players' shoulders coming into a cauldron like Manchester United, where you're expected to score, and you know, and we need you to score. Yeah, I don't know. I think the safer bet is Watkins for 50, to be honest. Jackson 100 mil, no thanks, no way. And again, the only way you're getting Jackson in is if the deal is right. I mean, I wouldn't pay more than 30 million for him. I really wouldn't. If we get Jackson, I'll burn all my jerseys. Says Ben, don't send them to me. I'll put them up on the wall here. I'm looking for some more to hang up. D says, nope, absolutely nope to Jackson. I'd rather we had a half-chewed shoe up front. Jackson screams Pogba mentality to me, and be out injured, yet dancing on TikTok. Darryl says, Sir Jim's been keeping an eye on him with his Chelsea season ticket. Jackson's not the right decision. Ben says, I've heard Chelsea want 100 mil for him. Well, they can take a long walk off a sharp pier if that's the case. Let's see. But need a bigger water bottle. No, I think we're okay with that one. It's got some kind of stuff on the side to keep me motivated throughout the day then as well. Look, 7 a.m. Ready, set, drink. So yeah, there we go. Stay hydrated, guys. You have to stay hydrated. What else have we got here? I'm going to get the new Man United jersey, says Passat. Happy days. Desi says, we need to plan out Rasmus. I'd say that's loan out Rasmus, is it? Or sell him, watched him against Leeds, and my God, nothing has changed. Yeah, I agree. You know, we done the live watch along for the Leeds game, and you could see Rasmus Højlund up to his old tricks with, you know, wrestling with centre backs and, yeah, just getting, like, not being in the areas he needs to be. Now, again, look, I mean, yeah. I go back to what I've said about him. I think he could go and have a very good career in somewhere like Italy or Spain. I genuinely do. Like Diego Forlan did all those years ago for Manchester United. I just don't think he's good enough at the moment. Warren says, Ahmad is a shining example of how loans can work. Rasmus needs to keep an open mind if he comes to it. Yeah, and look, again, the reason why I don't think he will be loaned, and we'll talk about Rasmus now, is because we need to get money in the door. Now, David Ornstein has been speaking about Rasmus today, and he says that there is a very good chance that Rasmus Højlund leaves Manchester United this summer. Now, he hasn't specified whether that's going to be by loan or whether it's going to be as a full sale. But, I mean, when you hear David Ornstein speaking about him potentially leaving, then you know it's true. And you know United are potentially looking to move him on. And look, we've heard reports about Inter Milan potentially being interested in him. And, yeah, look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think, again, like I've said, ultimately, I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United. I think he does need to be moved on. And I think he is a player that, realistically, we could get some decent money for. You know, I think we could. Now, how much can you get back from what we paid? I don't know, to be quite honest with you. But, I mean, we overpaid for him in the first place. So you just don't know what type of money you could get back for him. And I think if you could get anywhere between, 30 and 40 million, you'd have to take it. I don't know if you would get that. Who would pay that type of money for him? I don't know. But, yeah, it's, yeah. Nisha says, appreciate it, guys. Smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Darryl says, what's he worth? 30 million, says D. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you could get 40 million pounds for him, I would take the arm and all off you. So I would. And I would thank you every day for the next decade. But look, ultimately, I think there will be a lot of negotiations needed for a deal like that. And again, depending on what kind of offers come in, United are going to have to weigh up what benefits them the most. You know, do you let him out on loan and hope he improves and bring it? But again, I mean, the thing is, he could go out on loan, do really well at, you know, Inter Milan, or he could go to Serie A, or he could go to La Liga or Bundesliga or wherever. Doesn't mean he's going to come back and do good again for Manchester United, you know. And again, look, like Warren said there, Ahmad is the shining light on how loan deals can work, you know. But Martial isn't, and we've seen what happened there. You know, you can go, you might not do well, and you know, and look at Anthony, for example. Anthony went on loan, done fantastically, but we still want to sell him. So there are differentials that need to be taken into consideration depending on the player. You know, Anthony went, done really well, tore it up at Betis, but we still know he's not good enough for Manchester United. And I think ultimately, if we were to sell Rasmus Højlund, I think we would still come to the same conclusion. He could go to a Sevilla or an Inter Milan and score, 15, 20 goals next season. I think we would all still be quite convinced he's still not good enough for Manchester United. So I think if we can get him gone on a permanent this summer, I think it's the right move. But again, if a loan with an option or a loan with an obligation, then fantastic, send him on his way, and I think that's probably the right thing to do. 40 million, thanks, good luck, says Desi. Absolutely. Bishnu is in. Hello, good to see ya. Nisha fan says we could sign Thomas Muller on a free and get him to help Rasmus on. No, he's too old, I'm afraid. D says anything over 30 mil will be delivered in installments in dodgy envelopes. Maybe so. But I think over 30 mil, you've got to look at it. You've got to seriously consider it. Rasmus isn't good enough either, says Darryl. Yeah, so there we go, guys. And right, from one end of the pitch to the other, we've got to talk about the goalkeeper situation, guys, at Manchester United, and who Manchester United could potentially sign as a replacement. It looks like it's starting to heat up, and David Ornstein, I don't have the clip of it here, but David Ornstein did say in that podcast today that Manchester United are exploring goalkeepers, strikers, and number sixes, central midfielders. for the remainder of this transfer window. So it is going to be a busy rest of the transfer window for us. It's got to be said. Now, the goalkeeper situation. It's been reported from multiple sources that Manchester United are quite keen in Royal Antwerp's Sene Lemens. Royal Antwerp believe there's a good chance an official bid will arrive for Manchester United for Lemens soon. United's interest is becoming more concrete. Antwerp are hoping for 13 to 17 million. I'm just going to pull his stats up here on the screen as well, because I won't lie, I don't know an awful lot about him. But, I mean, when you're talking about bringing in a goalkeeper for that price, I mean, it is, it's absolute peanuts, to be quite honest with you. He's 23 years of age, and we pull his stats up on the screen here for you, if we can. So there's his stats. I don't know if you can see that. I can't zoom in any closer because it'll cut off the side of it here. But anyway, stats. Post shots, expected goals, minus goals allowed, he's in the 99 percentile, which is very, very good. His save percentage is 97. He's in the 97 percentile. His save percentage from penalty kicks is 90. He's in the 91 percentile, and he's also in the 85th percentile for touches, which means he's quite comfortable on the ball. Now, look, I think a lot of modern goalkeepers are quite comfortable with that as well. That's here, guys, for anybody looking at it. But what I'm most impressed with is crosses stopped. He's in the 99 percentile for crosses stopped. This is a big chap. He is, what's his height? He is 193 centimeters. Okay. I don't know. He's 6'3", so he's not huge. He's not huge. 193 centimeters. 6'3", so he's not huge for a goalkeeper. But when you see those stats there, that he's in the 99 percentile for crosses stopped, it's really, really good. And you know the way the Premier League is, it's very direct. It's very, you do have to deal maybe with more crosses than you would potentially maybe in Serie A or whatever the case may be. So look, again, he is an option for Manchester United. It'll be interesting to see if United make a move for him. But if you're getting a goalkeeper in that United think could potentially be the number one in a year or two for 13 to 17 million, it's a deal you really, really do got to look at. Now, if we're looking at a player with a different type of profile in terms of age, it's this guy, Emi Martinez. Now, the Daily Mail have been speaking today, again, that Manchester United are ready to approach Aston Villa about a move for Emi Martinez as they look to solve their goalkeeper conundrum. Now, again, this is a goalkeeper that's ready to come in and he's ready to play right away. And, you would be looking at a much more substantial fee for Emi Martinez than you would for Lemens. And look, it's understandable why. Age profile, experienced player, World Cup winner, Premier League proven, so on and so forth. I do think Manchester United are going to sign a goalkeeper this summer. We've got to. We really do. Onana has a fight to get back for the Arsenal game because he's out for 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. Altay Biender's not good enough. And, are you going to be talking about, what's the goalkeeper, Vitek, that was on loan last year, coming back in? I mean, are you going to bring him back in first game against Arsenal in the Premier League? I don't know. And I think it's probably not the safest option. But I'm convinced Manchester United will sign a goalkeeper this summer. And I think we have to. I really, really do think we have to sign a goalkeeper this summer. And I think more than anything, when we're talking about, a goalkeeper coming in and maybe being the next number one, like if we're talking about Lemens, for example, here, 13 to 17 million, you would expect him to come in and be a goalkeeper that maybe challenges Onana, not necessarily coming in and being your out-and-out number one choice. And I probably think this is the safer bet, guys. And I think it's probably the better future planning. If you're bringing a goalkeeper like Lemens in, who's 23 years of age, for £17 million at the most, according to these reports, And he's going to be your goalkeeper potentially in 2 to 3 years' time. But for the time being, he can be there to at least challenge Andre Onana for the number 1 spot. Because I go back to what we've said. I don't think the goalkeeper is the biggest area of concern right now at Manchester United. It's getting goals into the team. So if we can get a goalkeeper under the radar, because 23 as a goalkeeper is like signing an outfield player at 18 years of age, because goalkeepers play until they're 40 anyway, or at least they can stay in their prime to minimum 32, 33, 34. I mean, we didn't sign Van der Sar, I think, till he was 34 years of age. So I do think this is probably the best way to go. I would rather us go for somebody like this who can challenge Andre Onana rather than going for an Emi Martinez, who is, I think, had more errors leading to goals in the Premier League last year than Onana did. So, look, I think this is probably the best option, to be quite honest with you. I really do. Let me see. Give me 1 second here. I just want to jot down that number. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and we'll go through your thoughts here. Again, smash a like in the video, subscribe if you're new. Great to see that that number on the screen there, guys. It changes as people subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and watch the number change live up there. But it's great to see new people subscribing all the time. And if you are new, jump in and say hello in the chat as well. I'm sick of reading out all of these fucking usual fuckers in the chat. Only joking. Let's see. What are we saying here? What are we saying? Let's see. Warren says, Sodit, Heaton's been around for ages. Maybe this can be his breakout season. Got to be keeping him around for a reason. Binder must be pulling his hair out, not even getting a look in. Well, look, Binder played the first half of the game against Leeds, and Heaton came on. I thought Heaton was man of the match. I don't think we would have won the game only for him. I would like to see Heaton get some game time, but look, inevitably Heaton is there as the third choice goalkeeper. He got a 1-year extension on his deal, but I love him. I really do. He's a great attitude, great mentality, and he looks like a guy that's, he's always in a good humour, smiling for the cameras. I'd say he's good to be around in the dressing room, and you need guys like that in your dressing room. D says he's also in the 68th percentile for goals against in what? The Belgian league. No, this is against all goalkeepers in the league. So where is it? Men's next 14 competitions over the last 35 days. Yeah, so it's all across Europe. It's across the top 14 competitions in the world. So yeah, it's not just in his local league. It's not just in his local league for them stats there. It's look, if you see it here, players compared to positional peers in men's next 14 competitions over the last 365 days. So yeah, there we go. What else have we got here? What are we saying? Gareth says, is it right United are looking at the midfielder for Sporting? Yeah, there was a report suggesting that Humland, is it? I can't remember his name. I'll tell you his name right now, actually. If you give me 1 second, because I've got my Instagram open here. It is, what's his name? Oh, what's his name? Hulmand. Martin Hulmand. Apart from Gyökeres, Manchester United are also eyeing Martin Hulmand. Sporting are aware that Ruben Amorim is very fond of the Danish midfielder who has other admirers in England, such as Manchester City. So yeah, I didn't really want to bring it into tonight's show because it is from the same outlets in Portugal that were reporting the Gyökeres deal yesterday, and yeah, I don't really know, to be quite honest with you. Let's see. Sia Mantanda says, I am a footballer, but I'm in South Africa. Kayamandi Stellenbosch. Cape Winelands. Can the Red Devils take me to be a new striker? I hope so, man. If they do, come back to us and let us know. But yeah, hopefully someday. Hopefully someday. Nishifan says, please not Martinez. He's worse stats than Onana. D says, he's ready to play, but he's got a tendency to be either shite or clothesline strikers. Yeah, that's true. Ben says, he's out for Arsenal game. If he comes, didn't he get sent off? He did, actually. Yeah, he did. He's out for the Arsenal game as well. Emi Martinez, if he comes, he's suspended. Daryl says, rather that young lad than Martinez. Warren says, just seen AC Milan are signing Estepinian from Brighton for 17 mil. I'd have taken a punt on that price. Estepinian was never signing for Manchester United. Absolutely. Now, as soon as I seen the AC Milan links with him, I said, that's exactly where he's going. United were never going to sign him after signing Diego Leon, after signing Dorgu. There's no way we're bringing in a third left back. And you've still got Harry Amas and Luke Shaw there as well. Chris is in. Good to see you, pal. Gyökeres to United? I don't think so. Please let's just go get Watkins. Sesko's too expensive. Jackson's in the mud. Salmons is a good backup. There we go. That's what we've been talking about. Absolutely. Chris will be absolutely weak at the knees hearing Hulman may be en route. Maybe so. I tried to tell you guys about players who said Hulman first. You did. In fairness, you did. But we need to hear from English sources first before we get too carried away. Right, guys, want to talk a little bit real quick for the last maybe 5 minutes or so about outgoings as well. And there has been a little bit of a concern about the Marcus Rashford to Barcelona deal. Now, look, he is there. He's doing his medical, so on and so forth. And I think all of that is going swimmingly. And deals have been, confirmed in terms of personal terms and so on and so forth. But according to Mark McAdam, who does he work for? He does stuff on the... this is coming from... he works for Sky Sports News. He said, Barcelona currently unable to register Marcus Rashford. The Spanish club are understood to be working to resolve the issue as soon as possible. It is likely that sales or loans will need to be agreed to free up room. Barca do expect to register Rashford to their squad. Now, this is the same issue that we had with Nico Williams, or that Barcelona had with Nico Williams, where they weren't 100% sure whether they would be able to register him or not, giving... I don't know what's going on with Barcelona, whether it's financial or whether they've got too many players in their squad or whether it's La Liga rules. I'm not 100% sure. But Marcus Rashford supposedly falls into this same category. Now, Fabrizio Romano has been less negative about it. He says Manchester United have included a penalty fee which Barcelona should pay if they decide not to activate his option to buy. The fee will be less than €5 million. This is similar to what we've seen with Chelsea. However, the fee with Chelsea was... If they reneged on the obligation. Manchester United are very smart in this one here. This means that Barcelona will have to pay us even if they don't take up the buy option, whereas Chelsea was the buy obligation. So this is very, very shrewd negotiating out of Manchester United. I'm seeing more and more stuff, even though, look, ideally we would want to see Rashford moved on permanently, and you would want Mbuemo done quicker and you would want a striker in by now. But I'm seeing more and more stuff in terms of United negotiating with other clubs, whether it be outgoings or whether it be incomings, that strengthens my positivity on the powers that be behind the scenes at Manchester United now. We're negotiating well, lads. I think we're negotiating well, and I'll go back to Mbuemo, and that's the rock that I will die on. I think Manchester United were very smart in that move. I genuinely do. They tried everything in their power to get the price down to what they wanted. Ultimately, they had to move quickly because of the visit to Newcastle reports. They're inserting a $5 million clause into this loan, even if Barcelona don't take up the buy option. These are all smart moves, lads. They're all smart moves. And these are small little things that we could have only dreamed of seeing under Woodward and Murta and Arnold and these Neds. I think we've turned a corner. I genuinely do think we've turned a corner. Now, there are going to be things that we get wrong. And there are going to be things that we don't agree with, and we think we might be too slow, or we might have paid a little bit too much, whatever the case may be. But we're starting... I'm happy. I'm happy. I really am. I'm happy. Now, this is a worry. But I don't think Barcelona would have made a move for Rashford so publicly and so open if they weren't going to be able to register him after what happened with Nico Williams. So, look, I do think that it will eventually get done. I genuinely do. Let's see. I'm interested, and that's my dream team, Manchester United. There we go. Let's see. Boys are talking between themselves there. That's good business, says Darryl. We need to stop that. It needs to be mandatory future transfers at the end of a loan instead of this optional. Well, the thing about it is, it's harder to get players out on loan if there is an obligation to buy, you know. But the fact that United are putting these €5 million clauses in, even if they don't take up an option, is very smart. Ultimately, been a good bit of business, but would like to see him permanently gone. Of course, wouldn't we all? And I think he would probably want to go there permanently. And the thing is Barcelona aren't willing to do it right now, or maybe they can't afford to do it, or whatever the case may be. If they are unable to register him, then he just has to sit in a hotel room for the next season. I'll roll out laughing. Chris says, I'm getting better with Ineos, but the incoming players for Amorim is still too thin. It is. Absolutely, I agree. I agree with you. 3 players in the door. We only had 1 this time last year. I do think it's getting better. Ultimately, I would like it done faster. But if by the start of the season, or even by the end of the transfer window, I want a striker in ASAP. And then after that, if we can get a midfielder and a goalkeeper in by the end of the transfer window, I think it's going to be a very good, exceptional transfer window. But if we get Ollie Watkins in, if we get that young lad in as a goalkeeper, and let's say we get your man Hulmand in as a midfielder, that will be an exceptional transfer window out of Ineos. I would say 8 out of 10. Because we have no Champions League football next year, lads. We have no European football next year, and we finished 15th last season. If we could get Watkins, Cunha and Mbuemo, that young lad in goal, and that Hulmand in midfield, fucking badmouth Ineos then, I dare you, because I'll block you. Ben says, I'm sure Barca have a striker at 36 we could have for a season loan. There you go. Absolutely. Damon says, how fast do you think we will make the next signing? I don't know. I think this week will tell an awful lot. And like we said, Fabrizio Romano mentioned it back here. He said, let's wait for the next few days. Everything will be more clear about the striker in terms of who United want to sign. But at the moment, it's all just internal discussions. And rightly so. You know, United want to make a move correctly rather than just, sitting under, or pulling the trigger on something that doesn't suit them. I do think we will know, within the next week or so. I really do. But look, ultimately, now I apologise to everybody, guys, for ending on a negative note. But now it's positive at the start, but we're going to end it on a negative note. Duncan Castles in the Times has said Juventus is close to signing Jadon Sancho. The deal costs €20 million plus achievable add-ons. Juventus will cover part of the remaining dues in Sancho's contract with Man United, enabling him to move to Italy with a lower salary. And that's fantastic news for us Manchester United fans. However, Duncan Castles and David Ornstein one is on one tier and one is on another tier. Okay, now David Ornstein has said again on The Athletic today, he said Jadon Sancho has been heavily rumoured to be closing in on a move to Juventus. That is not accurate as I understand it, and I'm not sure where it's emerging from or emanating from. Now that's a big concern. That's a big concern for Manchester United fans because we want Jadon Sancho gone. And again, we want to get the transfer fee in the door, and we also want to get his salary off the wage books because we're speaking about saving about 18 or 19 million this year with Rashford being off the books, going to Barcelona. Jadon Sancho is on decent money at Manchester United as well. So that would obviously add to us being able to go into the transfer market and buy a striker. And like we said, Mbuemo is only costing us 16.25 million this summer. That's all. Now, if you go out and get an Ollie Watkins for 50 million, okay, and you break it down over 4 installments, that's 12.5 million. Jadon Sancho's salary would probably cover that. Or what we would save on having to pay him his salary would cover the first instalment for Watkins. There you go. Boom. Go and get him. You know what I mean? So I do hope that Jadon Sancho gets going as quickly as possible. Duncan Castle's is saying one thing. David Ornstein is saying the other. And look, we know who's higher in terms of tier. And actually, do you know what? We're not going to finish on a negative tonight, guys, because we've had one little snippet of positivity here. And Ben Jacobs has said that Manchester United are currently unlikely to bid for Nicholas Jackson. All right, so we won't finish on a negative, will we? I don't think we will. That's a positive from the majority of people in the chat who are saying no to Nicholas Jackson, and yeah, I mean, happy days. What are we saying? Last couple of live chats before we go. I would agree if those players come in. I'd rather Milinkovic-Savic. I think Milinkovic-Savic. There was a here we go on him too. Was it maybe Fenerbahce or someone like that? I think maybe. I seen it here we go for him yesterday or the day before. Do you believe any of the Gyökeres revival chat? No. I think it's his representatives or Sporting spooking Arsenal to up their bid to what Sporting want. I think Ornstein is jealous that he didn't get the news on Sancho, says Chris. There we go. Guys, brilliant show. I really enjoyed it. What are we now? We're over an hour, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm really enjoying the live shows. Again, like we said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday are the live shows, and then I will have a pre-record going out on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the channel. The number up above here is absolutely flying up every day. Great to see, and if you haven't hit the like button as well, please do. It's great. We're getting close to 600 and 700 views per live show now, and I'm really enjoying them. So we might have started to perfect it. Podcast Wednesday, says Chris. Yep, there we go. Podcast on Wednesday. We'll have the boys on as always. Breakdown of squad with Mbuemo and Cunha. Yeah, we'll talk all about that, and we'll talk about any news that's been breaking since as well. So happy days. Lads, I really do appreciate it. I really enjoyed tonight's show. Please do smash a like on the video. Like I said, subscribe if you are new to the channel. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. That's the next. And with your help, as Jay Motti would say, yes, we can get there. So please do subscribe. And check out the merch as well. Eric Cantona, The King, Cunha. Get the new Cunha merch. I've got it as well. It's actually in the wash at the moment. It's brilliant. It's my favourite one so far. We've got Lenny Yoro. We've got Roy Keane. We've got... There's a few more there. Go check them out. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll chat to you tomorrow. Take it easy. Good luck.